Hello there everyone and welcome to my channel. If I haven't met you before, my name's Carol and I just want to go through something with you today. So about a week and a half ago, probably about a week and a half ago now, isn't it? I showed this box that I'd made, well, that I decorated for storing printed papers in that I've been cutting up whilst I've been sat watching TV. Well, I haven't been very well this past weekend, so I've actually spent quite a bit of time fussy cutting, printing and fussy cutting, and what I've actually been cutting up is I printed off some of Nick the Booksmith's ephemera pieces, and I suddenly thought, I don't know if I've anywhere to actually store these. So, because I've recently moved house, and again, if you're new to the channel, you won't know this, but I have just recently moved, and I've now got a really nice dedicated space for my crafts. And I want to create everything that's going to be in my craft room. I want it to have a certain kind of style, because it's always been a bit of a mishmash of a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of the other, and so I want to create a little bit of a style around the room so that it all looks rather nice and pretty. So I wanted to create an ephemera storage book. Now I know that loads of people have already done them, and I'm not saying that I've reinvented the wheel, because I haven't. But I did want somewhere that I could store all of these in the style of my new craft room, which is going to be sort of a bit like this, a bit vintagey, a bit cottagey garden. And I actually have been thinking about it for quite a while whilst I was doing all this cutting out. And I thought about making my own book, I thought about using what I'd already got, I thought about all the books that are part made. Anyway, I came up with a plan, a cunning plan. And so I remembered that I'd got several photo albums that I purchased from the charity shop, and this is one of them. And in fact, it cost me £1.99. And it's ideal because it's got a really nice wide spine, and it's narrow at the front, so it means it's got plenty of room to expand. So I quite like that idea. And also in here, it's got those fancy tissue leaves in it. But I want to talk to you about the decorating part first. So I'm going to put pockets in here to store all the likes of this in there, so it keeps it all together. So on the front cover, I'm going to be using this paper, and it's actually from Victoria Designs, and it's the part of the Botanical Compendium. Now I do have to say that I changed the colour slightly because it was coming out a lot brighter and I wanted it really, really subtle. So I'm going to use this on my front cover, and then I've also got this lovely piece of linen fabric. So I'm going to use that on the spine, and then I've designed myself some labels which I will make available to everybody. So I created these labels because I got to thinking about, well, if I put all my ephemera in this, there's only so much I can actually fit in this little book. So I thought it would be quite nice to have a little series of books on my bookshelf. So one with the ephemera in, one for stickers, maybe labels instead of ephemera. I did labels in case, you wanted a separate one. Stamps. Now what I meant by that was if I stamp out some little images onto fabric or onto scrap pieces of paper, then I've got somewhere to store those. Die cuts, scraps. And then these I'll come on to another time, because these I've done for another specific project that I'm going to have coming up. But I thought it'd be quite nice to label each book so that I know what's exactly in each one, and then I could have the label on the front as well as having it on the spine, so it makes it easily recognisable, and I'm not stuffing my book full of all of those things in one book, and it just makes it easier for me to go and grab that specific book. So let's crack on, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to decorate this up. The first thing I want to do is I want to measure what size I need the piece cut in to be able to put it onto the front cover. Now, because I'm going to be using the fabric around the spine, the paper doesn't actually need to cover the whole of the face of this, but I'm going to measure. If we have a look where this fold is there, so, which is here, I'm going to measure from that point to this point here. So let's do that first. Rule around the right way helps, Carol. And that measures 7 5/8. So the actual book cover measures 7 5/8. Okay, and the height of it measures 6 inches. 6 inches. Okay. Now, when you look at the inside, this paper that they've used originally, they curled it round to the inside. Well, I don't want that showing, so I'm going to have to also curl my paper round to the inside, but I don't want to cover over this paper because this is quite nice. No, I don't need to cover that over, create myself some extra work. So I'm going to fold it round by 1/4 inch on 3 of the sides. So I need to add, so this way I only need to add 1/4 inch. And this way I need to add 1/4 inch for the top and 1/4 inch for the bottom. All right, so I need to add all of those up. So basically, this one came to 7 7/8. Well, I might as well just round it up to 8 inches. And then this measurement comes out at 6 1/2. So I'm going to cut this piece of paper 8 inches by 6 1/2 inches. And I want to use this bottom corner down here because I might as well include this pretty decorative element there. So I'm just going to trim off these little excess pieces where it didn't print the design, and then I can make sure then as well that it's all nice and square, even though I'm not using the whole of the design. Just a good way of squaring it up. Okay, so I want this to be 8 inches. So line that up at the top. 8 inches is there. And then the height of it I want to 6 1/2 inches. So I want to include this bit. So if I line this up on 6 1/2 inches, 1 2 3 4 up there. So I'm going to cut another piece because I want a piece for the back as well. So I'm going to put this one on the front and this one on the back. So I'm going to use my Tombow glue because it's nice and strong. And I'm just going to line it up with this fold line here and make sure that I've got the same distance at the top and at the bottom. Right, so let's get the glue on here. Make sure I've got a nice even coverage. And then line that up there. Check top and bottom. I'm still holding this in the air, and so that I can make sure that I've got it all nice. Okay, and then I can fold these edges in. Just going to curl them round for now, and then I'll use my bone folder in a moment. And then I'm just going to snip the corners away so that I can get a nice neat finish. So that's those two edges done, and now I'll just stick this end piece down. But that is now going to be my front cover, so I'm going to stick the piece on the back. I'll be back in a second. That's those two pieces now in place. Now I went and had a look through my fabrics again, because I thought that that linen fabric, whilst it was lovely, excuse me, it was a touch too thin. And I found this piece of calico that I'd actually tea stained. So I'm kind of thinking that I'm going to use that. So I'm going to add it over here, so it's going to overlap over the paper. Then it's going to dip down where the spine starts. It'll wrap around the spine, dip down again and overlap the paper. And I'm going to cut it so that it's slightly longer than the spine, and then I'm going to fray the edges to make it a little bit decorative. This is frayed quite nicely at the top there, so I might keep that bit. And we'll get my Fabri-Tac glue out. Get rid of those scissors. Get rid of that bit of fabric. Okay. So I'm going to add the glue to the book. And I'm going to do the front bit first, because I've got lines that I can follow. Now, if you find that your Fabri-Tac's a bit thick and gloopy, you can add just a bit of nail polish remover to it, but you need to really give it a really good shake so that it blends in with all the glue that's already there. Okay, there's plenty of glue on there now. And we'll add that on there with this bit overhanging at the top. Just make sure I've got that right. Okay, yeah, happy with that. And now I can chop off this excess, and again I'm going to leave a little bit at the bottom so that I can do a bit of fraying on the edge of that. And I can flip that back, and now I can put some glue on that spine area. Again, make sure I've got plenty on, but act quickly, because as I say, this glue can dry quite quick. Then we can flip that round there. And then do the same on the back. And flip that bit over. Make sure it's gone nicely into that little dinky area. And do the same on the front there. So then it looks as though it's always been there and it hasn't just recently been added. Okay, now I know I haven't put enough glue on here because I didn't know where it needed to be. So if I lift that up just slightly, there we go. So just whilst I'm waiting for that glue to set off, I'm going to cut out my ephemera label. Now I've done them in green, red and black, and blue and black. And I'm thinking that I'm going to add the green one. Am I? Ooh. Should I? Should I? Would I? Could I? Yeah, I'm going to go with the green. paper, scissors. So, okay, now I need to start making some pockets. And as I've said before, it's got these sort of very poosh tracing paper leaves in it, and I'm going to use these for some of my pockets. So they're attached to this side of the page and there's nothing on this side, so I'll come to that side in a moment. But what I need to do first is determine what size I actually want my pockets to be. I also need to trim away, because this goes right the way up to the top, I need to trim off some of this top edge as well, because otherwise everything will be overhanging the top. You'll see what I mean as I go on. Anyway, I have been fussy cutting like a mad woman, and all of these were from the Graphics Fairy. If any of you don't know her website, I will link it in the description box below. But all of these are from the Graphics Fairy, and as you can see, they're all sorts of different shapes and sizes. I need to determine what size pockets I'm going to need for each of these items. Oh, it's upside down. Let's have it the right way up. Now, as you can see, the pocket that I need for that is going to be different to the pocket that I need for that, which is going to be different to the pocket that I need for that. I could turn all of these that way on, and then they're all round about the same size. So, if I position those three there, okay, and I don't want them overhanging the top edge of the page. Although on saying that, if they do, it's not a major hardship. So I would need to cut below the fullest length of those labels, all right? Because I need to add some glue onto it as well to form the bottom of the pocket. So I need to leave enough space. And draw yourself a straight line so that you know where you're cutting. Okay. Now, as I say, if I cut that, glue that down as a pocket, the tracing paper itself extends beyond. So I want to cut some of that off so that I can actually get to the labels. So if I draw a straight line across there, whether it's at the right angle or not is a different kettle of fish. And then I'm going to cut along there, and I'm going to cut along there, and then I need to cut that bit off, but I'm going to hold on to it. Squidge that bit down. Okay, so if I flip it over this way and get my glue, and then I can put it all along this bottom edge, and I only want a thin line of it, and then all along that side edge there to close the pocket up. Now if I leave it open like that, all the labels are just going to fall in between each other. So if I position one there, then I know that that wants a line there. I position that one there, I know that that wants a line about there, and then hopefully the bit that's left, oh, got it in the glue, never mind, I can wipe that off. That should be wide enough for that last bit. So then I can flip that over, and stick that down, and I've now got 3 pockets. I'm just going to let that set before I actually put any of the labels in. Now this bit is still a bit flappy at the bottom, and again I'm going to trim a little top edge off to give me a little bit of an opening, a little bit of a space between the bottom pockets and the top pockets. Now you can cut these to whatever depth, width, whatever you want. So I would then flip that back again, put glue across the bottom edge, just a thin line, and glue down that side edge. And for this one, I'm just going to do it in the middle. So I know that I've got some bigger labels that those will then fit in. But I would measure just in the same way as I did that first batch. And then I can glue that down. That one in there. That one could go in there. Where's that little oval one gone? There. And then that one in there. So they're now all nicely stored. So I'll carry on and I'll put the rest of those in the pockets once I've made the pockets. Now, as I say, on this side, it hasn't got this paper. Now, I'm fortunate in that I've got a lot of little glassine bags, excuse me, which I can cut down to size, and I can glue those onto the page. But it also means that anything that's ultra long, then, you know, it's all held in a pocket really nice and neatly. And also, if I attach it just around 3 sides, then I've not only got the pocket itself, but I've also got the pocket. Let me just show you. So that's the pocket itself, but I'll also have the space behind the glassine bag, so then I can hold 2 lots within that space. The other thing that you can use is bits of your paper, printed paper, or cardstock, or greaseproof paper. You know, use your imagination. Think about what you've actually got in your stash that you've got loads of that you want to use up, and that is practical for the job. Now, the reason why I like this is because it's see-through, so it means that I can actually see the whole of the actual design. If I've used my decorative papers, it'll look like that, and it'll cover it up, and I won't know what's actually inside each of the pockets. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to section these off, so that at the front, and I'll show you the one that I've done already at the front. So this is my Nick the Booksmith printables here, and in fact I actually just cut her little logo out and stuck it on the top there, but she'd also got a really lovely logo from the desk of Nick the Booksmith. I'll just put it on as a little bit of a decorative bit of fun. But it also means now that if I start to run out of any of these, I know exactly where to go and look on my computer, and I know that I need to go and have a look at Nick's file on my computer, so that I can then download some more, print off some more, cut some more out, and pop them in the relevant pocket. Now, I'm not producing loads of these labels. I'm doing sort of, I'm aiming for 3, 4, 5 of each one, because I don't want to overload my book. And it's easy enough to go and print, if I start to run out of one, it's easy enough to go and print myself another sheet, cut a couple out and plonk them in. Me again. I've just bobbed back because I wanted to show you something. On this page, I've actually pulled the whole leaf out, and I've cut it sort of, you know, 1/3, 2/3, and I'm just folding back the sides just a little, so that it makes a pocket that gives me a little bit of expansion. And the reason that I'm doing that is I've got these glassine envelopes, and I'm going to put all these little tiny bits and pieces in them. Now, for me to reach into individual little pockets for each of these individual things, pain in the bum. Don't want to do that, so I'm going to bob them all in this glassine envelope, and then I'll be able to insert that envelope inside of that pocket, so that's why I wanted the sides on these, so that it expands a little to take all of these. Just want to check. I've got plenty of room to put my envelope in, so I only want some tiny little flaps on there. Then hopefully just so on the flap there. Now normally if I was doing this in a proper journal I would taper off the corners of these flaps. As I keep saying, this is just for me to store everything, to make everything more easily accessible. Because could you imagine all the pots that I would need to store all these fussy cut bits and pieces in? Okay, and then that should, fingers crossed, yes. See, now that just fits in there, just nice and snug. So it means now I can just pull out that envelope and have a look. Now the other thing that I could do, because that now looks a bit bland and boring, doesn't it? So I could actually get my washi tape out and decorate up maybe the envelope and maybe the bottom of the pocket, just to make it a little bit prettier, not quite so boring and bland and plain. And then this other bit that I've got I'm going to put on this side, and then I'm going to put all these chalkboard bits and pieces in there. Of course I could add a smaller pocket on the front of that pocket, so we love a pocket, and then I could put those in there. Now there's a thought. I made an executive decision. I decided that I wanted to decorate my cover a little bit more, and I forgot to switch the camera on. So I've got some labels that I've added on, and then I've got some of the Tim Holtz photos, which is what I bought when I was in America from Hobby Lobby photo booth. So I've chosen just to use one of these. So I'm thinking of adding her on there. And then again, this was out of a Tim Holtz ephemera pack. So I thought about adding that on there. And then just chopping that edgy bit off. A little bit of washi tape maybe. Now it kind of says in picture format ephemera, doesn't it? So as well as the word, we've now got some imagery. Alright, so I didn't do too many more pages. Oh, sorry, I forgot. I put book corners on as well, on each of the corners to protect it. Now I didn't do many of the pages inside because I've still got a lot of fussy cutting to do. But I am going to section them off, and I might even use this paper here inside and write a little bit of an index down so that I know what order I've got people in, or which designers. So as you know, Nick the Booksmith is sort of the first couple of pages, and then I've left a page because I think that I've got some more Nick the Booksmiths to go in, so I can add those on there. And then we go on to the graphics fairy, and I've added some washi tape on the bottom of my glassine envelope there. And then this was the one that I was just talking about, where I've got the envelope here that I can pull out, and I've added a little bit of washi tape on the bottom there to make it a little bit more decorative. And that's as far as I've got. So I'm going to do sort of as much as I've printed off and do pages for those. Leave a page in case there's any more that I find, and then go on to the next designer. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that. I might put a little hitch post on here, as I say, eventually, because as you can see, look, it's already bulging a little bit, and I've still got all these pages yet to fill. So I reckon by the time I'm done, it could be about like that. In which case then it is going to need a closure. But I just wanted to say, you know, I'm not reinventing the wheel, but I just wanted to show you the version that I'm making for myself. So I hope that you've enjoyed that. I hope it's inspired you a little, and I will be doing others to go in the series so that I can put different things in each one. So you'll no doubt see them in future videos. Thanks ever so much for joining me again today. It's been lovely to share this with you, and hopefully I'll see you in another video really soon. See you later. Take care. Bye.